Today on This Week in iPad, we're going to take a preview of the upcoming Angry Birds movie, review the now $1 Avatar game. We're going to be talking to Woody Sears, the creator of iStorytime, a variety of applications, and we're going to ask the question, why do sumo wrestlers love the iPad? Stay tuned. Hello once again. Welcome to another exciting edition of This Week in iPad. I am your host, Lon Harris. Joining me, as always, resident iPad and all things Apple really expert, Mr. Jacob Birch.
Yahoo!
Say hi to the people, Jacob. And joining us here in the studio, maybe, is it our first ever live guest?
It's episode 2. We had the maker of the, and I can't think of the name of them, but the speaker that would turn the table into a subwoofer.
Yeah, and then we had Edwin Cruz, bartender, yes, our favorite bartender, join us here in the studio. But it's rare for us to have a studio guest, so welcome Woody Sears, founder of the FrogDog Media?
You got it?
Yeah, creators of the iStorytime app, so a variety of apps like children's books sort of brought to the iPad, I guess would be how you describe it.
Exactly.
And
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, so welcome to the show. I'm just going to sit in for us for the show, and then we'll chat with you, about the apps and show off. I think you have some sneak previews for us of upcoming titles.
Yeah, would love to show you.
Yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll talk to him in a little bit about that. Just here at the top of the show, I got a couple things I want to announce, quick announcements. First of all, running out of Planet of the Apps segments, I guess would be one way to say it. I feel like we've been through the top sort of app categories at this point. So now I'm sort of looking to, we want to know what kind of apps you guys want to see us talk about. I know people write me all the time and they have little suggestions. This is the suggestion I want. So Lon at thisweekend.com, at LONS, Lon's on Twitter. Write me and let me know what kind of apps do you want us to review on the Planet of the Apps segment, and we'll take a look at them. I see Ninamaya in the chat room is suggesting stupid apps, which I guess that's the review is done already. They're stupid. But, I guess we could do a segment like really bad apps.
You have a certain vigor when you get angry about an app.
That's true. It's fun when an app is an app that's just mediocre is kind of boring to talk about, but an app that's truly abysmal is fun to talk about. So I guess we could do that one. I also want to announce we had a contest here before to win this lovely iPad case that I'm using. It's a little hard to see because it's black against the black backdrop. It's called the Zugu Smart Case. The coolest part about it is it's got this is Velcro, so it's totally adjustable. However I want to stand my case up, I can choose the perspective I want, and it stands up perfectly, and of course it'll go top-wise as well. I guess you'd say portrait and landscape would be the official way to say it. So we have 2 of these extra to give away. The winners were, I'm going to bring them up on my screen here, at Duval Geek, his real name is JD. Congratulations to him. And at BR Moore, Brad Moore is his name. We're going to bring him up right here. So there are 2 winners. The contest, of course, was we showed the iPad commercial where they have all the different adjectives to describe your iPad, like iPad is delicious, magical. And we asked, what would be your adjectives to describe your iPad? Duval Geek's answer, mind-blowing. So he was our nice answer. And then I picked a negative one, profligate, which was BR Moore's answer. So I thought both good words, SAT words.
I don't know if mind-blowing is an SAT word.
Well, it's a good word.
I can't even say profligate?
I think it's profligate.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. So anyway, those were our 2 winners. Congratulations to those guys. We will reach out to them on Twitter, and so we can get in touch, and we'll send them their cases. I actually have 2 more of these to give away. So at the end of the show, I'm going to announce our next contest for next week. And actually, the creator of these cases is going to come on the show in a couple weeks. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We can talk about the
Did we ever come up with a name for that episode? Caseapalooza?
Well, it looks like now I want to have 2 different people who make cases on, and they can't come on the same show.
Why not?
And I think they don't want to come on the same show. I think they each want to have their time to talk about their case.
Match.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't want to come on at the same time as like another storybook iPad creator, right?
I think there's room for a lot,
very diplomatic answer. I like that. But yeah, so anyway, we'll do 2 separate shows with case creators because there's another cool case that's actually not even out yet, and we're gonna have the creator of that that one come in and show it off. And actually, he makes like these handcrafted ones, and we're going to name one after a viewer. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up in September. But at the end of the show this week, we're going to give away 2 more of these, and we'll tell you how you can win. So I've taken too long to do the intro already, so let's move it along. I do want to take a few moments before we get more into the show to talk about the fine people at Gazelle.com. Here it is on my screen. We love Gazelle.com. If you watch the show, you've heard me talk about it before. It's a great way to get cash for your gadgets. Your old gadgets sitting around that aren't doing anything, just taking up space in your desk drawer, in your closet. You're not doing anything with them. And this is a great way to sell them, get some cash for them, to go buy something new. It couldn't be easier to use. You just go to Gazelle and you can type in any sort of thing you want, any sort of electronics that you have that you want to get rid of, that you don't need anymore.
Dell Streak.
Your Dell Streak. Let's take a look. Let's say you got stuck with a Dell Streak. There it is. And you don't need the Dell Streak. Come on, it's too big to be a phone. It's too small to work as anything else. What good is it? So it does make a call successfully. It's free of water damage. You answer a couple quick questions about the state it's in. Really easy to answer. You either have all the original stuff or you don't. I hate this laptop. And then you just calculate how much they want to pay. Over $300 for your Dell Streak.
Man.
That's worth a lot. I wouldn't have even imagined. The cool thing, too, I want to show off is you've got this little chart here you can show. Here's how much it was worth before. Wow. This is how fast word is spreading about the Dell Streak. That's what's being measured by that graph. So you can see here's how much it's worth today. If you have a Dell Streak, get rid of it now. Sell. Now is the time, because that price is plummeting. That's a great price for a Dell Streak, $307. If you've got one, you could get an iPhone 4 for that.
Almost more than half an iPad.
That's more than half of an iPad. Hurry. But anyway, shipping is free. And one more thing I've got to mention, please, if you go to Gazelle based on hearing about them on this show, and we hope that you do because it's a great company and we love our sponsors, TWI5. Use the bonus code TWI5 when you check out. You'll get a 5% bonus on whatever you're trading in.
$320 if you sell your Streak.
Right. So there you go. Everything except media. So no games or movies, but anything else you will get a 5% bonus on your item, and you can only use it once per customer. Nearly 100,000 people have used Gazelle to safely rid themselves of unwanted gadgets and earn some cash while doing it. We urge you to do the same. Thank you to Gazelle for being a longtime sponsor of the show. We love Gazelle. We appreciate them. Okay, let's move on. The first thing I wanted to do here, this is an older app. Usually when we do the reviews at the top of the show, we try to pick a new app. This week, though, they moved the Avatar game, which used to be $10 in the App Store. It's now only $1, so it shot right to the top of all of the charts, and I figured I'd download it and give it a try. So let's take a look. It's made by Gameloft, or Gameloft, I should say, which is the same company they designed the Iron Man 2 app. I got a little glare there. There we go. They designed the Iron Man 2 app, the Nova app, a lot of these first-person shooter-type games that you've probably seen around. Like, there's all these attempts to sort of bring the first-person shooter concept to the iPad. It works on some levels. It doesn't work on others. We'll take a look at it right here. For $1, you could definitely do worse, especially if you're a big Avatar fan. Oh, we can skip that. So it's loading up the level right now. I'm sort of in the middle. Just to tell you where I am in terms of the movie, I'm lost and adrift in Pandora in my avatar. I need the Lady Pandora. What are they called?
Don't ask me.
The Na'vi, right? I need the Lady Na'vi to come rescue me is where I am. So here we can get a look at a little bit of gameplay. These two guys are shooting at me. I've got this little sort of spear. And then I can run up to them, and it basically functions exactly like you'd expect from a first-person shooter style game. Good things to recommend it. Obviously, the graphics are pretty cool. For an iPad game, it's surprisingly in-depth. You're collecting these wisps, and you're running around. And it really, the graphics are cool. It does recreate Pandora in a pretty interesting way. I can jump up here. And I mean, it's hard to knock a game like this. It's obviously very ambitious. It's trying to do stuff that you really don't think of the iPad as being great at doing. Ooh. Oh, that wasn't good. But see, skill upgraded anyway. So yeah, I mean, a lot to recommend it. And I know you can't hear it right now because we've set Woody up with the sound. But it's got the score from Avatar is playing. And the other thing is, it's not that difficult, so it's not really frustrating. It's a good game to sort of casually sit around and play. They say they hear a butt coming It's not a first-person shooter. It's a third-person fighting game, I should say. It's not. But some of their other games are first-person shooter, but they're all the same style. I will say the butt is coming, and the butt is that these kinds of games are very difficult to play on the iPad for one basic design issue, which is this run-around control button. On a regular console game, you can feel it with your thumb. You know it's tactile. You know exactly where your thumb is on the control pad. Here, because it's the slick, there's no interface surface, you can't tell when your finger slips off it. You have very poor sort of control over it generally. So the game is pretty frustrating in that way. It's a little hard to play, and it also means that they kind of have to play for you in a way. Like the buttons change depending on what you need to do, so it takes a little bit of the fun away. You don't have that quick thinking that would normally come with a game like this. Normally, you know, you'd be playing a game like this, like a Modern Warfare type game, and you'd have a certain combination of buttons. Different buttons do different things, and you have to press the right button at the right time to make the right thing happen. Like, oh, I want to throw the grenade in this scenario. I want to duck behind this crate in this scenario. With this game, that can't really happen because there's just only so many different ways to interface, and you can't feel it. You have to be looking at the screen and jumping around. So they really have to, like, do it for you. When you come to a vine, a button shows up that's like, grab this vine. When you come to a ledge, a button shows up like, jump off this ledge. And so it sort of feels like the game is telling you how to play it through the whole game. It's just less fun that way. So it's just, I admire what they're trying to do. It's just really hard to make this kind of game work that well with a touch screen in this way. So the final version is, if you love Avatar, if you're really looking for this kind of action, side-scrolling, slasher kind of game, you could definitely do worse for $1. And as you can see, the graphics are actually pretty cool, although they do get a little choppy when there's a lot of busy action going on the screen. But having said all that, I don't know if this game is really worth picking up if you're a big game fan. It's certainly, with the iPad, we're nowhere near where we would be with a sort of, even a PSP Wii version of this game. If one day we come up with a peripheral, like I think eventually we'll have a joystick game controller peripheral to go along with the iPad that'll make it really work better. And I would definitely play a game like this if I had better, tighter control over it. But as it is now, it's a little loose and it's a little unsatisfying for me.
Sounds good.
Even at $1.
Well, at $1, like I said, you could definitely do worse. And even if you play it for like an hour, for $1, right. I mean, it's cheaper than a movie. It's cheaper than an album. Like, if it even takes up a little bit of your time, it's probably worth it. But, I'm not sold on these kinds of games. And I know this company, they did the Iron Man one, they've done the Nova one, they've done a lot of them. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but they just haven't cracked the code yet. They haven't figured out how to make a game like this work with a touchscreen. Blossom01 in the chat room says, if you start adding peripherals, doesn't the iPad start heading towards the console arena? I mean, it does. I think that's definitely true. I don't necessarily see a big issue with that. I think that, that's okay if it makes the games much more satisfying and makes them work a lot better, and you could do it affordably. I mean, that's the other thing, is I don't want to pay $50 to be able to play a game like this on my iPad. Nunamai is pointing out in the chat room as well that Nova uses the accelerometer, which is a better idea, but still not perfect. And actually, I was showing off a few weeks ago that Flick Baseball game that uses the accelerometer to aim where your pitches and your batting goes, and that's a little not satisfying either. There's just it's not tight enough. And when you're playing a game like this that's about split-second reactions, it really needs to be like tight so you feel like you have very good, sharp control over your character. Okay, let's move on. I want to talk to Woody about iStorytime. I can take a look while we're chatting here, if you look at my screen, at the How to Train Your Dragon app, just while we're sort of getting into it so I can show off what it is. Basically, these are, storybooks that have been adapted for the iPad.
The attacks of flaming fireballs. One teenager, Hiccup, wasn't a typical Viking. Where most were brawny, Hiccup was brainy.
So, I mean, you guys, never mind. I'm skipping ahead. They're designed for a 2-year-old, so I'm struggling with it a little bit.
Do we have any toddlers in here?
Are there any toddlers in the chat room? If there are, please speak up now. So you can see the basic idea. Just wanted to give people sort of a sense of what we're talking about, what you guys are building. How did you get started with this as a concept? Give me an idea what the backstory was here in designing these kinds of apps.
It was really my son is to blame, or can take credit for coming up with these. He's just insatiable craving for books. And so we had my wife carrying around all these board books in her diaper bag and weighing 15 pounds and adopted the iPhone early and said, wouldn't it be cool if the books were on here? And that was kind of just a side project at first. We started with some independent works, and it's kind of evolved into the studios with DreamWorks and now Cartoon Network and Jim Henson Company. So there's definitely the motion picture aspect of it is interesting because we can release a book that has stills from the movie the same time the movie comes out. Yeah. Whereas a paper book, it takes them another 3-4 months by the time that it's printed and shipped to the U.S. and distributed. And that's what kids really gravitate towards is whatever the actual graphics that they saw from the movie coming through on the screen or on paper. And it's not a replacement, those type of books that we've done. They're very similar to a paper book. We get to enhance a few things like the highlighted text for early reading skills and a couple other things you can't do on paper. So that's fun. And now we're starting to branch out and do a little bit more of the interactive ebook.
Oh, really?
And take it to the next level.
So
some
like
activities.
Like that Alice in Wonderland book they had where the graphics actually move around on the screen or something?
We're some of that, but more on the activity level. Activities that you would maybe find in a paper book, but come out a lot better digitally, like mazes that you take along with your finger. And
right on, yeah.
We can take a look at a couple of these things
let's take a look.
One is pretty straightforward. You have a coloring activity, and we've all seen this, and this actually lets you stay within the lines if you want, or you can see the actual drawing that I just did. But, change pen size and color. But this is pretty cool. This will all be one app, the Penguins of Madagascar. It's one of the highest rated cartoons on Nickelodeon. Actually has a big preschool following, also 6 to 11, and then college age. Apparently,
college age? They love the Madagascar movies?
It's not as much the Madagascar. The Penguins are a little edgier.
Yes,
they're this elite force, and they go through some pretty hilarious...
I've seen the films.
Okay. Well, you should check out the cartoon. You'd actually pretty entertaining.
I didn't even know there was a cartoon. That's interesting. So obviously these are, and somebody was asking in the chat room, like all of these apps that you're designing, or the ones we've taken a look at, are based on these DreamWorks projects, like Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon. I know there's a Shrek one that you guys have made as well. Yep. So how did that come about? These are obviously licensed by DreamWorks. You guys are working with them to design these. So how did that relationship come about?
It was very fortuitous, actually. We were one of the first doing the storybooks on the iPhone, and we created the largest library, and we were lucky enough to have them reach out to us, and they interviewed a couple developers. I think a few of the others were in China or India, and we were local, which was great, and we do all our work here in California, and so that was, I think, a plus, and they just liked the concept of keeping it simple, following the paper books, and so we signed on with them for 5 pictures, and we actually just did another 6. So we're doing DreamWorks films through 2013 on iPad and iPhone and also Android. But yeah, we haven't really experimented there, just in case they come out with the right device.
Yeah. So how far in advance do you get the materials? Like, do they let you know like a year in advance, we're going to do this How to Train Your Dragon movie, here's some concept art, or do you have to work under like a much tighter window?
Yeah, we get plenty of concept art and plenty of advance notice of what the film's name is going to be, which that usually changes, but the actual final stills that they know are going to be a part of the movie aren't ready until 1 to 2 months before it hits the theaters.
Wow.
So they're constantly making these changes, so it's a very compressed process by the time we have the assets that we can use that are going to go in the final book. But there's a lot of things that we can do otherwise to prepare it, but still the actual assets are coming late.
Well, just take us through the process of, I mean, who's actually writing these books? Are these based on actual physical books, or you guys have a team of writers who actually write kids' books to go into the app, or what's the process like there?
A little of both. Some are adapted from paper books that will come out with recreated art, so not the actual stills, and then others we've adapted the screenplays directly in-house, and that was kind of a new and challenging process.
I can imagine.
You know, I've had a crack at writing a children's book, and it's not as easy as it might appear. But this is I will walk you through the process. Just what we're showing here is this kaleidoscope, and you can kind of manipulate it. And we got one of the monkeys here. If I can, let's see if this. So you can.
Oh, as you tilt it, it changes, right?
If you stop the. That was actually a bug right there, but you can adjust it. You know, take a snapshot.
It's almost like mini Uzu in a way. You played with Uzu?
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of cool. We had that guy on the show.
So you got all that action. Anyway, kind of a fun. This is, you know, binoculars are a prop from the show,
Sure,
and
yeah.
kind of integrate some of the others as well. And but yeah, that process. You know, we like to use already existing content that's proven, books that kids like, or you know, or have a success with that author, and then we take that material and publish it on the iPad.
Yeah. So bringing it, you know, you get the story. Like what's the process like of, you know, sort of it's a story and then you're storyboarding it. So you're taking like images and matching them up to the text. I mean, how long does it take? What goes into sort of making the finished product after you've got it sort of written?
Well, now we're getting a little, you know, branching out with these other activities,
yeah.
and we're exploring some new ground here with the kaleidoscope and some more advanced graphics. But otherwise, we can do it in, by the time we have it storyboarded and all the artwork and text approved, it's about a week to 2 weeks doing the text timers, because you're timing all those highlights for every single word and layering that into the application, and doing the voiceover recording. And then timing that up. You can usually do that in 2 weeks.
Wow. How many people are involved in that whole process? I mean,
there's 7, 3 full-time and 4 part-time, so still a small shop. But,
yeah, tiny.
Yeah, I think we're all, you know, at our limits, so more full-timers will be welcome.
Even with that big DreamWorks money? Come on. Got to be room for a few more people. How much influence does DreamWorks have over like the finished product? I mean, are they very involved every step of the way, or do you guys kind of work independently and then send them like, hey, here's what it's going to be like?
I guess it depends. They are very involved. They want to be sure to keep consistent with the brand and have only the highest quality out there. I mean, we're working with the most incredible animation that's on the market between them and Pixar. So, you know, they're very protective in that sense, but do give us a lot of creative leeway and have great creative ideas themselves, and always adding to the design aspect of what the apps can bring. So, you know, it's a collaborative effort, and they've been a great partner in that sense. Another piece of this one, for anyone who has seen the Penguins, which maybe we have some viewers out there, you can create a little sticker scene and drop some of the characters in there. Yeah. This is King Julian, head of the lemurs. That one's a small one. Use my left hand here.
There we go.
And
so you guys are really, I mean, it's moving from being just more like a storybook to really a whole sort of activity game associated with this property. So this is like an all-in-one. If you love the Penguins of Madagascar, this is like a full experience.
Experience, that's the perfect word for it. And that's
I can.
And we're trying, we don't really have any skill-based games in here. We're still focused on the preschool age group. And, you know, they're starting to get into some maybe simpler games, but we're still trying to stay true to book and some of those activities that are engaging, but not necessarily, you know, the drawing doesn't require a certain level of skill. You can take it there, but...
Well, you don't want it to be frustrating. As little kids, you want to just sort of have fun with it,
Which is a UI challenge in itself.
I can imagine. So your site, I looked at the FrogDog Media site, and it says the apps are designed with 2-year-old users in mind. I mean, do you see kids that young really able to engage with like an iPad and really get something out of using it? That seems really young to me, but you know, what do I know?
When my daughter, she just turned 2, when she was 14 months, she could unlock an iPhone and usually just go in and delete apps. But now that she's 2, she's definitely starting to explore. And her favorite, I don't know if you've seen the Shrek book.
Yeah, I took a look at the Shrek one, which is a movie I have seen, so I can appreciate that one.
It has like a Where's Waldo feature on every page where you find Sir Squeakles, and they're starting to read books at that point, or listen to books, and can focus for that amount of time when they're 2. But this is by far her favorite part.
It's like make him squeak a little. Yeah.
Everyone was scared of him.
So do you see because obviously these are fun, and I mean you can learn, like it's a good reading tool because it's highlighting the words, and so the kids can start sounding out the words. But do you see a big future for the iPad as kind of an educational learning tool, or is it more just kind of activity, keep the kids distracted while mom and dad enjoy an old fashioned?
I think that is, that can never be underrated.
Right. Yes.
And for those quick bursts of time of peacefulness for the parents are priceless, especially, and now you can get them for a couple $1 apps. But I think that's the next big forefront, and that's where we're starting to develop some educational pieces. And I think that there's tremendous value there, what this device is capable of, and just all the way up to textbooks and even toddler educational games, and there's a lot out there that's probably more competitive than books for our audience.
Well, we took a look. We actually did an episode where we looked at a lot of educational games, and there's a lot out there, but it still seems like people are trying to figure out how to make this work in terms of actual learning. I mean, there's a lot of either it's 1 or 2 basic little things over and over again, like spelling 3-letter words, or it's essentially just a game, and they've plugged a little something like a math problem in there. It really seems like that has a little ways to go, but I'm sure it's a newer device. I'm sure people will sort of start to put it together.
Yeah, I think all the apps are getting a little more sophisticated and refined. We still see the plethora coming out there, and there's a lot of junk, but I think the cream is rising to the top.
I think so. One more question is, you guys started with iPhone apps and now have sort of graduated to the iPad. Was it a very different animal, or was it really just a matter of it's a little bit bigger now and adjusting that way?
We started off with just doing universals of our iPhone books for the 15 iPad apps we'll have at the end of this week.
Oh, wow.
And now we're doing our first iPad only, which will be the penguins, which you've seen a couple of those examples.
Yeah.
And I think it is a different animal, and we finally have something that'll fully take advantage of that, whereas the smaller screen, those activities wouldn't have been nearly as fun or engaging.
Compelling,
So it's been a couple months in the works to do it right. We didn't have that one at launch. We had one of our books, and what we've seen is people buying these books in the same volume for Dragon or Shrek as they do on the iPhone, which is pretty interesting comparing 3.5 million devices to 90 million iPhone and iPod touches.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think the market for the kids' entertainment and books is pretty compelling right now.
Davey Dukes in the chat room wants to know, where do you see this space going? I'm assuming he means storybook type apps for the iPad.
Like I said, I don't see them replacing the paper, but it's certainly somewhere where you can offer more, and I think it's a fast-growing segment. People like this format because you can share, parent and child can hold it together like they are reading a book, and they will turn off the narration, not necessarily when they're driving their car or having an old-fashioned. They actually do this one together.
Right, yes.
Because of the screen
size. If they're better parents than I would be, sure, yes.
So I think it's going. I think we're just beginning to see the possibilities of the interactive ebook. So it's a fun space to be in.
Cool. Should we move on to the news?
Sounds good.
Question?
No, I got nothing.
All right.
You covered all bases, as you always do. I have 2 or 3 questions, and then
I always jump in. It's like on the Mad Men show. I don't let anyone else talk. That's what they say. That's what they're telling me on the Twitter. So before we move on to the news, I got a couple news stories I pulled up, but we got to talk about Press Reader, right? Everybody loves Press Reader. The one thing I would say, Press Reader, it's the best way to read all of your newspapers, on your iPad. I mean, no more messing around. There's so many apps, like the New York Times has an app and the Boston Globe has an app, and you get, here the editors picked our 5 favorite articles today, and you get those. And it's very limiting. It's like you're sort of at the mercy of whatever the New York Times feels like serving to you. Press Reader is like, forget that, it's everything. I mean, they just have tons and tons of full newspapers, and you can see I've got we'll pull up the Baltimore Sun here. You can see it's the entire newspaper. I mean, you're not missing anything. And if you come here, you can actually see the table of contents. You can jump anywhere you want. So this is an older edition. I haven't downloaded any today, but you can see gay marriage ban loses. This is in the Nation section. If I want to jump right to the obituaries, I can do that. We can see poor Samuel Leo Dutton has left us. And you can, they've even highlighted stuff in here. So it's a great experience. You could zoom in and out. So it's really the best way just to read the newspaper if you wanted to read your paper. But beyond that, it's got so many different papers. I mean, you could never read everything that there is in this app to read. We used to say, up until last week, it was 1,500 full-content newspapers and magazines from 90 countries in 47 languages. And then they wrote me this week to say, no, now it's 1,600 full-content newspapers. They added 100 in the last week. That's crazy. They won't stop. They're relentlessly adding more newspapers. So for a limited time, you can download the Press Reader app. You get your first 7 newspapers for free. After that, you pay $30 a month. You get unlimited downloads. You can pay 99 cents per paper, or you can pay $30 for a month, and you get as many newspapers as you want from all around the world for free. They download quickly. They've got them from dozens of countries, more than that. What was it?
90.
90 countries. So,
dozens, 90s.
Yeah, I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. You can see select title here. Here's all the different countries. Colombia, a paper. Croatia, 6 papers. Egypt, 5 papers. Estonia, 9 papers. I can't believe there's 9 newspapers in Estonia. That's just completely insane. So anyway, we love Press Reader. I talk about them all the time. I recommend it to friends who are saying, they want to read newspapers on their iPad. You couldn't really get a better experience. It's easy to read, zooming in and out, download entire papers. You can set up auto download, so if I know I want to get the LA Times every day, I can just set it up, and then as soon as I turn on my iPad, it's going to start downloading the LA Times. You can even search within a paper, so if I know there was an article today about, whatever, I can now think of what a good story would be, but what's going on in the world? Obama did something. So you could look up Obama and pull up just the articles about Obama. See?
You're a man of the world.
I'm staying with it. I keep up with the news.
I had my dad text me last week.
Really?
Have you used Press Reader? Apparently not watching the show, Dad.
Doesn't enjoy our show, your father.
He just said, but he asked about it, and I said, I have, in fact, used it
the word is out
extensively.
The word is getting out. So they're at Press Display if you want to follow them on Twitter or thank them on Twitter. And we should say at Gazelle_com if you want to thank them. Thank them both. They've both been great to our show. We actually have a new sponsor coming next week. I can't talk about it yet. I'm just teasing it. New sponsor next week. We'll have 3.
I'm excited.
That's a full boat of sponsorships. But we love all of our sponsors at Press Display. The app is Press Reader. You can download it for free, so you can check it out for free. You get your first 7 newspapers, and after that, $30 a month. It's totally worth it. I use it every day to read the morning paper. Okay, so let's move on to some news. We've got a lot of news to talk about.
I bet there's a new tablet.
Yes, there's every week. The inside joke is every week now there's news of a new tablet that's the iPad killer is finally here. We talk about it all the time. They just use TWI iPad themselves, so not sure. Oh, I don't know what they're talking about. They're asking for our hashtag. We have 2. You can use TWI IP or TWI iPad. Either one will work. So we look at both of them all the time, religiously. One might even say obsessively.
Constantly.
That's the new
always.
Google yourself. People used to Google it yourself. That was your egomaniacal thing. Now I hashtag myself. That's what I do.
Is there a Lon Harris hashtag?
There should be a Lon Harris hashtag. But anyway, TWI IP or TWI iPad. Either one will work.
I want that to be a hashtag.
Hashtag I love Lon will work also. I look that up every day as well. Okay, so let's move on to the news. The first piece of news, Jacob, you are a soothsayer. You've seen the future.
Wow.
The Samsung Galaxy tablet.
Ooh.
Electronista posted a brief YouTube video. It features Samsung's Android-based tablet, the Galaxy Tab. It's being tested on a Sydney train in Australia. We'll talk about the video afterwards. Let's just roll that. I believe we have this set up right now.
Is it any good?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah? Android-based?
Yeah.
Have you used an iPad before?
Mm-hmm.
And does it crap on that?
Very different though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7-inch?
Yep.
That seems to be quite interesting. The form factor that a lot of these competitors are going for.
Oh, there's all different stuff out there.
Yep.
Different sizes, different specs.
Yep. Arm-based?
Sorry?
Arm-based?
I can't talk about
Oh,
it
really?
anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, sick. Awesome. Lucky you.
So there you go, a little sneak peek. They also released, I was saying we'll talk about this video because it's a little fishy to me. It made it look like this was being surreptitiously taped, like somebody just grabbed their phone and like got a look at this. But they also released their official trailer for the Galaxy Tab this week, and it's going to debut September 2nd at the IFA trade show in Berlin. So it seems like it might be a setup. It seems like they might have purposefully leaked this onto the web to get people interested. It's a 7-inch 1024 by 600 screen, so it's small enough, as you can tell, the guy can grip it like with one hand.
iPad or iPhone, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's about
like
right. It's about as wide as your phone. I mean, the guy's holding it comfortably in one hand, so it's obviously not iPad-sized. It features Android 2.2, a 3.2 megapixel back-facing camera, and a VGA front-facing cam. And you know, they were thinking this guy may have been testing it to see how it performed on mobile networks and, you know, Sydney's computer train lines. But I don't know. It feels a little bit like a marketing ploy to me because they know this thing is coming out soon. Somebody asked in the chat room actually, are you considering porting your apps to other tablets? I mean, if the Samsung Galaxy Tab becomes a huge thing, would you want to put your Shrek book over there, or would you consider that?
We struggled with the Android marketplace. I mean, the sales are about 1%. That's one thing. But like if you search Shrek in Android, you're going to get 25 responses back, and 23 of them are illegitimate. Right. You know, and it'd be one thing if they were good, but they're all
China's
crappy
favorite
too.
ogre Schrock.
Cameron Diaz quotes.
Yeah.
You know.
So
Shrek.
This is actually kind of a statement in favor of Apple's take on it, which is sort of make themselves the policemen of the App Store, and you have to get through them if you want to get in, because it cuts down on the amount of, you know.
I think it weeds some of that out. I mean, there's arguments for both, but yeah, when you see a situation like that where it's obviously, how's the consumer going to weed through all the
Shrackle the monster or whatever. So what do you think, both of you? This seems to me like another one of these Dell Streak in-between devices. Like, it's too big and clunky to use like a phone. It won't fit in your pocket. You have to carry around. But it's not quite big enough to give you the great iPad experience. Like, you can't, watching a movie on it wouldn't, or reading a storybook on it wouldn't be as cool because it's not quite as big. So does that approach make sense? Is anybody really going to succeed with this sort of in-betweener philosophy?
I think there's a market for the 7-inch ones. I think 7-inch might be big enough. Streak was dumb. 5 inches, it just makes no sense. 7 inches, I think, maybe, but and it'll be my broken record until we actually can unbox one of these, maybe live on air. The first one actually gets out, that's worth a damn.
Yes.
Until they get out, you can actually use it. It's really not, like, I don't know what to speculate on. The stats look good. I mean, Android's got a proven OS, but until that actually comes up and you can see is it as snappy as the iPad is it as fast as the iPad is it as intuitive? Until that happens, it's sort of just rumors and specs.
Yeah, basically.
Or if we're talking about even a 7-inch iPad, right? I don't want anything smaller than this if I can't put it in my pocket.
Right.
But if it's, a couple $100 cheaper, it opens the doors to a bigger market segment. So maybe that's the thought behind it. Otherwise, give me the big screen.
Yeah. Nunamai in the chat room who has a Galaxy S is pointing out it'll probably be fast because the other Galaxy product line are pretty snappy.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have no doubt.
It's probably.
I have no doubt it'll probably be zippy. It's more the size. I feel like the iPad is a great size if you're not looking for something that's like a smartphone size. Yeah. And everybody's coming out with these like, it's like an iPad but tiny, and it's like, well, no, but that's a phone. I don't need to, like, I'm not sure there's a market for something that's in between, but we'll see. It'll be out soon. So the next thing we got to talk about, Apple, of course, on September 1st, is having their big like rock event that they have every year, their iPod event in San Francisco. Not a lot of it relates to iPads, most likely. I mean, we don't know what they're going to actually debut there. We'll see, but most of it is probably going to be things like the new $100 version of Apple TV, probably a new iPod Touch with some sort of higher resolution. The one thing that will probably impact the iPad that's been rumored, Bloomberg's reporting that in an effort to stave off competition from Netflix and Hulu, Apple is in talks to offer TV show rentals for 99 cents through iTunes. So right now, you can get TV shows through iTunes. It's about $3. So if you want to watch an episode of House, you buy it, you pay your $3, and then you can get House in your, on your iPad. Now they're talking about 99-cent rentals, and it would be for, they're making the deal right now with News Corp, so it'll probably be Fox shows, but they're also thinking that it may work for ABC shows. NBC and CBS not currently being considered to participate. So, probably only will be some shows, but, you'll be able to rent them, and it'll work just like movie rentals work now in iTunes. So you rent it, you get it for 48 hours, and then it magically vanishes or disappears, so you can watch it for a limited amount of time. So does this do anything for you guys at all? I mean, would you rent a lot of TV shows for $1 as opposed to buying them for $3? Do you think this is actually going to keep people from paying for Hulu or Netflix?
I think it depends on the two things come to mind. One, the coverage it shows, is it all Fox shows, and also how far back do they go? That's one problem I have a lot of the time on Netflix or somewhere, where I'll go in and either the really, really early seasons or the really, really new seasons will be on, but that's it.
Yeah.
You had this problem with Hulu, I think.
Oh, man, I got a bunch of problems.
And
that could be a whole show. This week in Lon's complaints about Hulu Plus. We'll do that later.
But that said, if I could, as opposed, if they're in and Wire would be a bad example because it's not in HD, but if I could watch an entire season of Mad Men for $13 as opposed to paying in HD, as opposed to paying $50 for the collector's edition, if I wasn't such an obsessed Don Draper fan, I would do it, because I just want to kind of get through the shows as opposed to sort of keeping them. So I think it makes perfect sense, especially since you don't get that tangibleness in buying a digital episode anyways. Like, if you're really a fan of a show, you're probably going to buy a Blu-ray or a DVD of it as opposed to the digital download.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many ways now to get TV shows that are on the air. I mean, I feel like the archive thing might be one philosophy. Hulu does try to do that on some level, although there was a study, I'm going to talk about this on Twist this week, there was a study out today that 88% of the material available on Hulu Plus is available on Hulu.com. Yeah. So I'm a sucker. But what about you, Woody? I mean, would you rent Fox shows for $1 instead of buying them for $3, or would you do either?
I don't do either. 24, we'll buy the packages of that, the whole seasons, and we've done that forever. And I think, I don't watch those twice. We loan them out to friends, but I'm not going to go back and watch those a second time. So renting's perfect. We're just doing Netflix streaming at home right now. We got rid of the dish for the summer, and that seems to be working out really well for the content.
I love Netflix.
Yeah?
Netflix streaming is the best of all these services, I think, by far. Library, just the best library.
Yeah. The Apple TV thing that's exciting is using your iPad as the remote and being able to access apps that are built for that. I mean, that's another place that we would love to be in the living room TV.
Yeah, they're saying, a $100 version of Apple TV is a set-top box. It'll integrate not only with iTunes, but with the App Store. So there's a lot of possibilities there. Obviously, we'll be waiting this week. We'll talk about it next week, whatever they actually announce. Any other theories about what they might be introducing on September 1st at the event? I know in the chat room, everybody's saying, they want an iPad with a front-facing camera. They want an iPod Touch with a camera.
Touch is happening. iPad's not happening. Wait till January.
Anything else you think they might throw at us at the event? I know people were saying maybe the old school iPads will get another new version.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a new Nano or a new the one I can't shuffle. Maybe I don't. Some people were speculating that they might kill off the Classic, the big hard drive, but I don't think so. I think the margin on those is probably so huge they don't need to move a lot, so why get rid of them? Some people like having their entire library sort of in their hands. I think most of the speculation comes from is with the new Apple TV and what's its price point. Is it going to do 1080? What kind of third-party providers are going to have? Netflix, Hulu, whatever. Yeah. Because that's it, and both them and Google seem to be putting a little bit, hedging their bets around set-top boxes, and this will be Apple's first real, possibly foray. I mean, they've had the Apple TV forever. but it's never like they don't talk about how much it gets sold. It's sort of just a ugly stepchild. So this might be the first time where they feel people are ready to take it on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. I thought this was really interesting. Apple Insider got its hands on an FCC filing by a company called, here we go, Shenzhen Polysilicon Technology for an iPad case that essentially turns the iPad into a laptop computer. It's a clamshell case that has a built-in Bluetooth keyboard. So it's basically like one stop. You just slip your iPad in and boom, it's right there, and it's got a keyboard. It's basically a laptop. It's going to be released first in the UK. It's going to be called the Keycase iPad Folio with Bluetooth keyboard, and it's expected to cost $92. The battery on the case lasts about 45 hours and takes 4 hours to charge, and that's obviously separate from your iPad, so you'd have to charge your iPad and charge your new case that has a keyboard in it. So Apple already sells its own keyboard dock, though I really haven't seen too many of those in the wild, to be honest. It doesn't seem like that concept has really just taken off so much. Do you guys think this will make a real impact? I mean, are people desperate to use a keyboard with their iPad? And is that like a laptop killer? I mean, if you had an iPad with a keyboard built in, would you essentially have a laptop? I mean, would you need a separate MacBook or something?
I think it's a silly idea.
Really?
I mean, I think they'll move some by people who want to buy an iPad because it's an iPad, and then they're like, I don't have a keyboard and I have this. But at the same time, either break your comfort or get a laptop, because they're saying in the chat room, get an Air. And if you, there are certain things you need a keyboard, just a computer for.
Yeah.
Power processing, and you shouldn't try and fake the iPad with probably a burden accessory into something that's not.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. It just seems like, the iPad is the iPad, and what if you really need a keyboard that desperately, you need a separate device. To me,
right. And I have an Air, and so my son can use my iPad. But the Air doesn't really do it. Can't do everything either. It's a little less powerful, and I can't run all the programs I want on it. But it does have the keyboard. It's light. The battery lasts a while, and it serves a lot of those purposes. But yeah, I don't know why not just the Bluetooth keyboard. Why the fancy case
like
with
it
the
comes in
power?
this clamshell case. We can take a look. Actually,
Yeah,
I've got
let's
it on
see
my
it.
screen. So that's what it looks like, and you can see you could use it just as an iPad case, but then it has this sort of part that comes out and has a keyboard attached. You could basically use as you can use it as a laptop. Here's what it looks like, all sort of unfolded. And it's made of this real durable sort of material, I guess. And then you can like fold everything back, and it just becomes an iPad case. And that's where you plug it in. So in the chat room, people are pointing out if it was made by Apple, people would rave about it and its flexibility.
Well, keyboard dock. No one's raving about the keyboard
Yeah,
dock.
I mean, I feel I'm not positive that that's true. I feel like this is just kind of some people it's obviously going to appeal to, but for the most part, I think, yeah.
Looks like it'd take up a lot of lap space.
Yeah, it seems like
how it props it up.
Yeah, I think one thing, that's really nice about the iPad is how compact it is. And if you start putting in these big bulky keyboards, it sort of defeats its own purpose. As
two different things to charge. It just I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. We all agree. Probably not. We got to talk about this. One of the most popular iPad games is Rovio's Angry Birds. It's centering on a group of birds who face off against evil pigs who have stolen their eggs. The game has been downloaded more than 6.5 million times. I had 6.5 times in my notes, as Jacob pointed out, but 6.5 million times on iPhones and iPads. And now Variety has revealed there may be an Angry Birds film in the works, along with a possible TV show, comic book, and toy tie-ins. Now, here's the part that does not surprise me, because I think it's inevitable iPhone games will become popular enough that they'll start to move them out and make them into other sort of media. But here's the part that surprised me. Rovio CEO Mikkel Head, it's I guess a Norwegian company, disclosed that the company's been discussing ways to reformat the Angry Birds storyline, but he feels like a full animated feature film would take up to 3 years to produce. So the concern would be, well, if it's 3 years, is Angry Birds still going to be this big brand? I'm not sure why they think it would take 3 years to make an Angry Birds film. It seems like you could knock that out in less than a year if you really wanted to. So do you think, is that going to be a barrier? I mean, do iPhone and iPad games, they're so sort of temporary, and then you got to come out with the next one. Is it ever going to work to sort of adapt them into other medium?
I don't know if it necessarily works with Angry Birds, but I mean, at the same time, maybe they keep by the time the movie comes out, Angry Birds 4 is out, and the characters are all the same, and it's even geared more towards the movie, and the concept's the same, and people are still as ever addicted. Not to date myself too young, but Pokemon comes to mind. Is by the time the movie came out, at least in the United States, they were on the 5th iteration of the game, probably 4th, but it was still relevant. So it kind of depends on how relevant they can keep the Angry Birds name. But I think it's possible.
I could definitely. I mean, if they came out with an Angry Birds movie in the next like 6 months, I think it would be a hit. Like people would go see it because everybody I know likes that game and knows what that property is and recognizes that name.
Yeah, if you create great characters, I think that they're going to transfer over. You know, the popularity thing on a game like that, 3 years does seem like a long time to capture. I mean, but if you're just capturing it because it's a great character and not because it's a popular game, it's going to do well.
Well, I think they'd probably be going for, everybody knows what the Angry Birds are. You say Angry Birds, and it's like, oh, that game where the birds are flying and blowing things up.
So it could come out in 20 years, and we know it would be popular because it would be a throwback. Everybody would love it.
Everybody our age would be like, oh, remember Angry Birds? Takes me back.
And you take your kids there.
It'd be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of 2030. Bizarre story from Reuters this week. We had to talk about this. There's one more story I want to get to, but while we're talking about frivolous things, apparently the governing body that controls Japanese sumo wrestling has decided to distribute iPads to wrestlers who they want to use smartphone technology, but they struggle to make them work with their massive bulbous hands. So the iPad apparently is the solution. The Sumo Association will hand out iPads to Japan's 51 sumo stables, which is what they call like sumo clubs or leagues, I guess, hoping to improve communication between the wrestlers who struggle to use traditional means of communication like the telephone. This could be a great iPad ad, I think. Like the iPad is like plus size, that it's like a sumo can't use.
I'd love to see him holding it like a phone.
You're right, like it's just palming it in one hand. Yeah, I don't really have questions to go along with that. I just thought it was like a completely weird.
We found out
story.
who Dell made the streak for. There you go.
No, it's too small. That would still be too small for the
5
sumo,
inches?
I would think.
No, I don't know.
They're big guys. They're big guys.
Big fellas.
And they're
going to be using Skype? What are they going to be using?
No, I don't know how they're planning on using the iPad as a phone. Maybe it's just text messaging or something it's hard for them to use phones, so they'll be just using alternate means of communication or something. I don't know. Anyway, this is I'd like to stress, this is not like Ananova or one of those like fake associated content kind of sites where they just print fake stories like Reuters. This was a real news item. It's completely crazy. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is Apple and the news that they are patenting a touchscreen desktop computer. I'm going to look this up so I can show the images. Desktop touchscreen computer. It's basically like this weird. It looks like an iMac. They're saying it's like the new iMac, but it'll be on a swivel, so you can use it as a desktop computer on your iMac, and then you can like tilt it down, and you can use it as a touchscreen. Here we got the image here, so people can take a look. So yeah, you can see it's like on some sort of swivel base. We talked about this on This Week in Startups. We were saying this could just be a new Apple iPad case where you can look at it like a real computer or swivel. But there's a lot of rumors flying around about what the European patent actually includes. Some people are saying it will come with both OS X and iOS, so it'll work like a traditional desktop computer, and it'll be basically like a big iPad. There's a lot of different ideas about how it sort of might work and what might go along with it. But how likely do you think this will be? What do you think of this idea generally of a hybrid desktop touchscreen? I mean, could this really be like where Apple is thinking of taking the iMac, that you can use it just like you normally would as a OS X desktop computer, and if you feel like it, you can move it down and start playing Angry Birds on it?
I think one, I learned never to read too much into patents that Apple files, because they file things like crazy.
Yeah, they just think of stuff.
If there's a remote possibility they're going to use it later, they'll file it. That said, I think with this specific patent, it seems a little unlikely to me that they would try this hybrid space. They seem to like to find their niches and sell all, sort of push it down the line. Where it could be useful is as just a real computer, mouse, keyboard, everything, but adding an element on the screen. Being the nerd that I am, I'm thinking of StarCraft 2 and using it as to be able to select units and move things across the screen that way, but then immediately go back down to my keyboard and move stuff there. And that could be interesting, but overall I wouldn't read too much into the patent filing.
Yeah, I mean, Nunamai in the chat room is saying you can't use that sitting, only up straight based on anatomy and ergonomics. But I think the idea is, you could sit at your desk and use it, and then you could swivel it down to the edge of your desk and you could touchscreen. I don't see why that's impossible. I mean, it seems like it might be a little clunky, and maybe they're still working it out. But I mean, I don't know how reasonable this idea is, which is why I bring it up. I mean, it seems a little far-fetched to me. I have no doubt that one day Apple is planning to move all of its devices over to iOS as opposed to OS X. I know they like the way that works better, and they can limit, it doesn't have to be as open, which would fit in. You don't think so?
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they move OS X to a slightly more closed platform away from, say, Objective-C or something like that. But I think it'll still be in its entity. I don't think they can decay that. I think there needs to be. Steve Jobs uses the truck analogy. You still need trucks. You can't replace trucks. It's just where people were always using trucks, there's this other thing that you can make that most people would use, but they still want that Pro line, and I don't think that's going away anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that makes some sense to me. Fair enough. We were going to do a Planet of the Apps today, but we're so close to out of time. I feel like we should just save that.
It's exciting.
And we'll do it for next week.
Next week.
So we'll tease it out. We were gonna do chat apps.
And we only have 4. You each have 2. So we can I'm doing AIM and Face Chat.
You're doing Face Chat Name. I'm doing IM Plus and Beehive.
But if there's any other that we're not covering.
Oh, great idea. Let us know if there's another chat app besides those 4 that we just mentioned that you guys want us to get to, and we will. And now, as I promised, it's the end of the show, so we're going to talk a little bit about how to win one of these cases. We've got 2 left, and we announced our winners from last week. I've got 2 more to give away. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write a review of our show. It can be this episode, or it can be the whole show. Like, watch as many as you want, the whole run. Let us know what you think. Review it on your blog or wherever you like to write reviews, wherever you post things on the net. It can be Facebook, I don't care. And just send me a link. You can send it to me at, Lon at This Weekend, at LONS. You can just tweet it and send it to hashtag TWIIP or TWI iPad.
Or I Love Lon.
Or hashtag I Love Lon, because I guess I'm going to start checking those. So just get it to me, get it in front of me, and we will pick 2 of the reviews. They do not have to be positive. I want to know what you really, really think. So even if it is a complete hatchet job on me and the show, every entry is a chance to win. We're going to pick 2 that we like, that we think are well-written, informative, good feedback. Like I said, doesn't have to be positive. If it is, I'll love you forever. But it doesn't have to be positive. You will still have a chance to win. Next week, we will pick the 2 reviews that we like the best, and you both will win these lovely Zugu cases. Definitely want to thank Zugu for the case, at ZOOGUE. If you want to go check them out on Twitter, give them a follow. We are going to have the founder, Tim, of Zugu, who designed these awesome cases, on the show, so we're getting ready to welcome him. Want to thank our sponsors, Gazelle.com at Gazelle_com, and Press Reader at Press Display on Twitter. Thank you so much to them for supporting the show. Woody, thank you so much for coming by. Really fascinating to get a look at all the apps. Everybody can check it out. FrogDog Media is the site, or you can just look up FrogDog Media on the App Store. How else should people find these apps? What will be your
iStorytime, FrogDog Media, children's books, you'll find it.
You can find them. Yeah, iStorytime is what they're sort of the brand name on all the apps are. Take a look. They're all really cool if you have kids, or even if you just love the penguins of Madagascar. Plenty of people do. When is that coming out, by the way?
3 weeks.
Okay.
Out in 3 weeks, yeah.
And he's at Woody Sears on Twitter if you want to follow him. And thank all of you for joining us on another episode of This Week in iPad.